week full of potential flashpoints. The S&P 500 slipped 0.3% Monday, even though
this November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship agreements to manage federal lands, we return the lands of the Upper Sioux State Park to the Upper Sioux tribe and over 11,000 acres back to the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwa. This November, vote for the party that stands with our community. Vote Democrat.
Paid for by the Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
For everything you need to know about voting in Minnesota, visit the Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org. Find out where to vote, check registration status, and view sample ballots. Again, for all your voting information, go to mnvotes.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Again, that's vaccines.gov. Vaccines.gov.
Make voting a tradition empowers Native American communities through civic engagement. For nearly a decade, MVAT has increased voter turnout by encouraging friends, family, and neighbors to get involved. By building trust and community engagement, MVAT ensures Native voices help shape the future. This election season, voting is easier than ever. Minnesota voters can cast their ballots early so elders and busy voters can avoid the rush of Election Day. Find your nearest polling location at sos.state.mn.us and let's make voting a tradition for future generations.
Be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
There are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events. And as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega. This portion of the show is supported by NACDI with Make Voting a Tradition in Minneapolis.
Hey, we're honored to be able to welcome Minnesota First Lady, Mrs. Gwen Walz, to Native Roots Radio. Gwen, thank you, Pinigigi, for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be with you. And good morning, everybody.
Hey, last time we saw you in person was at your holiday cookie party in St. Paul for the press and media. Again, a big thank you and a piggy for the invitation. And now we've been seeing you all over traveling the campaign trail. We're so excited and proud of you and Tim and here from Minnesota. What has the campaign trail experience been like for you?
Well, Robert, thank you for coming to that party. And that was fun to spend time with you and eat cookies always. And one thing about the campaign trail is I've been bringing some of those cookies along with me. We bake them at East Cliff and then take them with us and leave them at field offices across the country, which has been really fun to bring a little bit of our home or our tradition with cookies to people who are working hard for the campaign. So it has been amazing to travel from state to state. Honestly, I'm spending a lot of time in Wisconsin, some time in Minnesota, but Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, New Hampshire. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. So it's been really fun because we are living our values. And some of your Minnesota listeners probably know Tim and I quite well and know that we just find a lot of joy in being able to advocate and campaign for what we really believe in, because so very, very much is at stake, right? And the distinction is really clear in this election. And I think the thing I talk about the most is that Tim and Kamala will be a president and a vice president for everyone and all of us. And that is a stark contrast to the other side. And, you know, we could go on with a lot of examples, but I would just say that JD Vance and Trump do not really have everyone in mind when they are thinking about this country as a whole. And so to advocate for that, and I know specific issues that you'll ask me about, but the reproductive rights, our own freedoms, having a seat at the table, and being trusted to make our own decisions. Those are all really important things that Tim and I have fought for and cared about. And now we get a chance to do that in lots of states and meet lots of people. So it's been intense, but it's been good.
Absolutely. I'm a former teacher also. And what's exciting, I got to just let you know, too, we're based out of the Twin Cities, but we're on 30 channels in Wisconsin, too. And we just know how our relatives are so important to get out the vote. And all the hard work you and Tim have done in Wisconsin is duly noted.
Well, thank you. You know, your vote is your voice. And I think sometimes we think we're just going to vote on election day, but we might not. We might have something come up like road construction, right? Or a sick child. And what I would say is get out and vote early. It's too important to miss. And so in Wisconsin, you can vote right now, right? You don't even have to be registered. You can bring a form of ID. And I think that goes through November 1st. Yeah. And so you can register and vote at the same time. It hardly takes long, but make your voice heard. And in Minnesota, of course, we're in early voting too. Tim and I voted yesterday. Because it was a time when we could both be in Minnesota, and we wanted to do that together. And Gus, who just turned 18 in the middle of October, was able to vote with us and for his first time. And so that was a big deal. And Gus and I both told Tim that we voted for him. So, you know, if you get votes in your own household, you're doing all right.
Exactly. And we know when the young ones become first-time voters like Gus, they'll be voters the rest of their lives.
That's right. That's right. Don't give up your power. Do not give up your power. Keep that. Your vote is your voice.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, you've spoken honestly about your journey with IVF and starting a family. And we're here at Native Roots Women think that women should have complete choice about what she does with her body. Can you speak a little bit about why protecting reproductive rights is so important in this country?
I would love to. You know, Tim and I had not spoken publicly about our journey, and actually the method we used was IUI, which is in the IVF family, but I just want to be really clear on that. There are all kinds of fertility journeys, and maybe no two are alike. We had not spoken publicly about that because it had been a really challenging thing for us. And it was at the time, like, it made it more painful to share it. We had a neighbor who helped us, but even our family and close friends didn't really know the journey that we'd taken to have our children. And when the Alabama Supreme Court decision came down, Tim and I knew that we had to speak publicly, because we believed everybody needed to have their own right in their own choice to create or have a family if they chose in the way that they chose. And I say out on the trail, nobody should be telling us if, when, or how to start a family. And it is very clear that Trump and Vance have an agenda here. So even if we feel safe in Minnesota or in Wisconsin partially around this issue, if there's a national abortion ban, and Trump and Vance have talked about that and discussed that and said, that's part of their agenda. Well, that's not going to protect women in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And the biggest difference, if I could just state it clearly, is that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz trust women, and they trust them to make their own choices about their own bodies. And then I think all your other choices follow from that. J.D. Vance and Donald Trump do not. And even in Project 2025, it is clear that they could make dramatic changes to reproductive freedom, specifically around medication abortion, without congressional approval. And they could do that through the FDA commissioner who they would appoint. So there's a lot on the line in reproductive freedom. And that's why Tim and I decided to speak about it. And, we've had to even have conversations with our own children because we're not at the point, where we had spoken about that process with them. Neither one of them is married or has children yet. And so I don't know if you know exactly when the right time is, but we decided now this was the right time because we feel so strongly about it. And if we can lend our voices to that, we are absolutely going to do so. And if there's no other reason to vote, having your own choice and your own rights to make your own decisions, beginning with your body, is a reason to vote.
Yes, absolutely. And it was great seeing you and the governor and Gus going and voting early. I know Wendy and I have voted early. Our producer Haley has voted early. Have a plan. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah. We have to have strategies. Lives are busy and things get in the way. If you wait till election day and you don't have a backup plan in case your child is sick or, the road construction is happening and you're going to be delayed and then you have a lot of other things on your list, you may not get the chance to vote. So doing that early is great. And if you can, but if you have election day, make sure you have a backup plan to your backup plan because we need you to vote. That's part of your own power.
Oh, thank you so much, Peony Gigi, for joining us for this quick chat today on Native Roots Radio. We hope the next time we speak, we're calling you Mrs. Gwen Walz, the Second Lady of the United States of America. Big Peony Gigi.
Thank you, Robert. Go home and hug those grandbabies, would you? Tell
Right
Wendy
on.
hi. Thank you.
I will. Thank you, Peony Gigi. Hey, we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio.
Thanks, Haley.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Fossil fuel camps, like pipeline and oil drilling villages, are increasing violence against our Indigenous sisters. Temporary workers from these camps have led to a surge in sexual assaults. In North Dakota, assaults on women rose by 75% after man camps arrived during the 2000s oil boom. We must hold big oil companies accountable for this violence and demand action. By electing leaders that prioritize the health and safety of our Indigenous communities, we can fight back. Our vote is our voice. It's time to use it to protect our people, stand up for climate justice, and ensure a safe future for our next generations. Make voting a tradition, or MVAT, is about strengthening our Native communities. MVAT is here to boost our voter turnout and spark important conversations about the issues that matter most to us. Find your early voting location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a tradition so we can fight for the safety of our communities.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by JS Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
I am awake. Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, I want to just talk to the 19-year-olds out there, and I want to talk their language just for a second, Haley. I just want to say, yo, chat, voting is Riz, Kamala is Sigma, Trump is sus, and brah, if you don't vote, you're Ohio. Oh,
yeah, definitely speaking those younger people's language for sure.
Right on, right on. I know our next guest will understand that. He's got a couple of young ones there that speak that language. Welcome, Dr. Stately. I saw you voting. Good to see you. Long lines mean a blue wave.
Yeah, I was like, oh, God, long, super long. You know, and I had that moment where I'm like, oh, I'll just come back and do this tomorrow, knowing full well that I won't come back and do it tomorrow. It'll be even longer, so I just waited.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really stoked. I'm really excited. The reports out there have been just fabulous. Women are voting 20% more than men, and so we all know
record numbers. Yeah, record numbers.
And it's double digits. You know that people are coming out of the exit polls too. 20% for Kamala. So we're going to be rocking and rolling tomorrow, Haley. After our show, we're going to be jumping back on at 9 o'clock with AM 950 and doing some updates. So
nice.
really excited and really stoked. I'm having a party over here, having the grandkids and the kids.
Are you having a watch party? Election watch party?
Yeah, I think Haley, you might be coming too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Can't miss it. It's going to be historic.
Yes.
Well, you heard it here. It's an open invitation. Everybody go show up at his house.
Yeah, party at Robert's.
Yo, Wendy's not listening, is she? Whoa.
You never know.
Shoot. Well, I'm totally excited. I don't know. Dr. Stately, we've gone through a lot together on Native Roots Radio with you. COVID. So many people have voter commercial fatigue. How is everyone in the community holding up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like generally like people are probably, you know, it's like running a marathon. I think of it as a marathon in that way, right? So it's like we're at the last mile. You can kind of see the finish line. And so people are exhausted. They're probably exhausted from a few other things. I personally am exhausted and broke. I've been giving them, maxing out the credit cards on the donations to Kamala, and also not just to the presidential election. I've been giving money to people who are in battleground states for Senate and other positions to make sure that we hold that Senate line. So I've invested a lot, and I figure, well, my kids don't have to eat this month; they can eat next month. Just kidding.
Yeah. I do hear a dog in the background, and he's kind of looking delicious from here.
Yeah, he might end up. I might have to change his name to Soup.
We kid here on Native Roots Radio.
We do. Oh my God, Wendy's gonna kill me.
Oh, we love our dogs. They're like family, and
we do. Yeah, I love Soup too. So it's a great combination.
We got veggie soup over here too. I'm just feeling really healthy these last 2 days, so look out.
Nice. How did you guys do early voting already? Yeah.
Yeah, the first week that it was open, Wendy and I went out there because we're hopefully getting somebody from Make Voting a Tradition on at the end of the show. But I will be going over there And people from our tribal office here in St. Paul have my phone number. So if anybody needs a ride, I will be driving them to the polls tomorrow. So I'll be working all day and night.
Nice. Good. Doing your civic duty. That's awesome.
Yeah.
These
And
are the
then,
things we have to do. We have to make sure elders can get to vote and other people can get to vote.
and it just a FYI to anyone listening that needs a ride, I'm nap from like 3 to 4. So let's try and get it done before then.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish Dr. Stately a happy Native American Heritage Month.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that is pretty awesome. Like I was just thinking over the last week or so, like all the really great things that have happened. We had President Biden gave, that speech last week. Too bad he didn't pick Ho Chunk to do that at, huh?
Yeah.
Even Red Lake, but yes, he picked the battleground state to do that, I think, for a reason. So, but also it is amazing. Like there's some things that you just never thought in your lifetime you'd ever hear or see, right? That's one of them.
Right.
Like I never thought that I'd hear an American president take responsibility or at least apologize for the atrocities that happened in boarding school. And as a boarding school survivor who had many of those things happen to me, right? Some real serious violations of my physical and emotional and psychological well-being. That was meaningful to hear him say that. So,
yeah, really, I agree. I mean, there's things happening in my old age here I never thought I'd see happen. And Hillary should have been the first president, but I'm really excited. This to me is more energized, even more than Obama. And we had the governor of Wisconsin on last week, and that's what he said too.
Yeah, I think that I do feel like this and the energy around Kamala Harris is bigger and more sort of like prophetic than Obama. I think there was a part of me that just felt like I remember the night before the election. And I remember where I was when we heard the news that Obama had won. And I was living in Seattle at the time, myself and my partner, and our babies were brand new babies, and they're like less than a year old. And I just remember like the overwhelm that I felt, mostly because I thought there was this part of me that was like, there's no way they're going to elect a black man president. There's no way they're going to there's that part of me that just thinks like, this is how deep and entrenched racism is in this country. And so I think there's a part of me that also felt that way about Kamala, but I saw like so many people begin to sort of kind of get behind her, right? We are long overdue for a woman to be president. We are long overdue for another person of color to be president. It is important that, women's reproductive rights are protected and upheld. And sorry, he's getting ice. And that is like fundamentally one of the most important things. And I had this conversation with a young woman the other day at the APHA conference. We were having dinner, and she kind of was sitting next to me, and she just kind of mentioned to me in passing. We didn't have a conversation about the election, but we were just chatting, right? And then at one point the topic came up briefly, and she was like, well, I think I'm just going to do a write-in because I don't really like either one of the two candidates. I have problems with both of them. And I just kind of stayed silent for a while, and then I thought, I can't stay silent in this conversation, right? No. And so I just turned to her and I said, listen, I just want to kind of ask, I would just kind of point something out here. I said, I'm going to pull the Uncle Tony card here. And I'm going to say, it's really important for me that you understand, the choices that you're making. When you're choosing a third party person or a write-in, like you're really, diminishing the capacity for us to be successful here and elect a female president who's been very, very clear. And even before she began to run for office, she was really clear about her place in this specific conversation. I said, and I would think that it would be important for you to think about this as you're measuring the weight and the impact of your vote here. Like, I would think that you'd want to ask yourself, like, if I were raped or one of my family members were raped and I got pregnant accidentally as a result of that, would I want to be able to have the ability to get an abortion if I so choose? Would I want to make decisions about what happens to my own body as a woman? Are those things that I value? Is that something you'd want for your child or for your children or your grandchildren? Is that something you'd want for your female relatives in your community and your family? Like, if that's something that's important to you, then I encourage you to, to cast your vote and to vote for the person that's going to protect those things, because, I basically said in Minnesota, Indian women are dying at the highest rates of maternal and child health, mostly because of racism and mostly because of these things.
Hey, we're here with Dr. Stately, Native American Community Clinic President and CEO, an all-around groovy guy, and we're always glad to have him on. Yeah, right on. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we are just on election eve. We'll be right back after this short break.
Indigenous communities are on the front lines of air pollution. Pipelines, mines, and waste incinerators are often built near our homes, harming Mother Earth and our health. The result? Higher rates of asthma, diabetes, heart disease, and other serious health problems. In the Twin Cities, air pollution disproportionately affects Native and Black communities. Indigenous Minnesotans, especially in the metro, experience over twice the rate of asthma compared to white Minnesotans. This pollution affects our quality of life and the future of our children. In Minneapolis, our vote helped close the Smith Foundry and bituminous roadways. Let's continue using our vote to fight for climate justice. Make voting a tradition, or MVAT, empowers Native communities by increasing voter turnout and supporting conversations about critical issues like clean air, water, and health. By getting involved, we shape the policies that protect our families and environment. Find your nearest polling location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a tradition for future generations.
This November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship agreements to manage federal lands, we return the lands of the Upper Sioux State Park to the Upper Sioux tribe and over 11,000 acres back to the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwa. This November, vote for the party that stands with our community. Vote Democrat.
Paid for by the Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
For everything you need to know about voting in Minnesota, visit the Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org. Find out where to vote, check registration status, and view sample ballots. Again, for all your voting information, go to mnvotes.org.
The Minneapolis Institute of Art is featuring the art and legacy of Jody Falwell, a groundbreaking potter from Cabo Owinga, New Mexico. Over the past 50 years, Falwell has revolutionized Pueblo pottery and native art by weaving in personal, political, and social stories into her pieces. Her exhibition titled Opawa Omung shows the incredible range of her work and the impact she's had on both native and contemporary American art. You can check it out at MIA through January. For more info, visit artsmia.org.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Again, that's vaccines.gov. Vaccines.gov.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Howl! With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 42, Tuesday rain with a high near 46, and Wednesday partly sunny with a high around 50. And make sure you tune into AM 950 tomorrow night for our election night coverage, Your Voice in Action. Matt McNeil will get things going at 7 o'clock as we'll bring you results all night long. And skip tuning into one of those national cable networks. Stream our Facebook or YouTube feed directly on your TV. Again, that's AM 950's election night coverage.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Yes, they do. Hey, we're here with Dr. Stately, and he's the CEO of Native American Community Clinic. And now I've said that correct twice today, so I'm on a roll here on Monday. Welcome, Dr. Stately.
Oh, it is Monday. You're right. I was like, what? Wait, that's just because you're on a roll. Just kidding.
Oh, you had me wondering too for a second. Hello. When we get old like this, we don't, we count the days by the TV shows we watch, but now they're on all the time. We don't even go. It's like Monday, got to watch this.
Oh, I have an important announcement to make. I forgot in the previous session.
Yeah,
I did write my name in as mayor for Prior Lake, so if you're voting in Prior Lake, make sure you vote for me.
Really?
So at least I have one more vote than one.
Really? Wow.
Okay.
What does the mayor do there?
I don't know what apparently nothing except raise my taxes and a few other things. But
Wow, geez, we should have. Wow. Well, there'll be people in your house who will vote for you, right?
not really, probably.
I know.
No.
I know the feeling.
My kids would vote for me, I think, if they were registered. I actually was thinking as I was there doing early voting, I should have registered them early so that they just are ready next election, because they'll probably resist. So, but
because of the line.
Yeah, I was like, thank God I came for early voting, because the line was out the door and way down the hallway, and I was like, it'll be tomorrow by the time it'll be on time voting by the time I get to the front of the line.
Well, again, that's a good sign, because us blue waivers vote early, and all over the country. I am just really optimistic. I'm really optimistic, and I just feel like these polls have been off the whole time, and it's going to be a blue tsunami. It can't not be.
I listened to this NPR episode. Well, not NPR, National Public Radio.
Oh, okay. That's
no, I have to admit that I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since I was in my 20s. I don't know why.
Really?
There's something wrong with me, I think, but
It was the best I've seen in years last Saturday. It was
really, I'll have to go online and look at it. But was it the one where Kamala and what's her name? They were dressed the same and looked the same, and they were.
Yeah,
I heard. Yeah, I forget what her last name is.
Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph. Yeah,
Rudolph.
I always think of her as what's her name's daughter. Yeah, so.
Easy.
Yeah. Loving You, Minnie Riperton.
Yeah, Minnie Riperton.
Yeah.
Easy, cause you're beautiful.
Thank you. But don't tell Wendy that. I'm just kidding. I was gonna say that basically, though, I was thinking about how, I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about how these two people had come up with a way of using the same technology or the same process you would for predicting sports betting and those kinds of things. They use a similar sort of algorithms and things like that to sort of they figure out which horse is going to win this election, right? And these folks were talking about how, there's all kinds of problems with the existing sort of like polls and the way that they're conducted, and but these two folks who apparently created these systems that do a really accurate sort of analysis of predicting the likely winner in the last 3 elections, and they've accurately predicted each election successfully over the last 3 or 4 presidential elections. They both have predicted that Kamala will win. So just based on their previous experiences. So that was exciting to hear, and of course I was all I wanted to go dancing in the streets right away. But I'll wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, well, the statistics are out there, and there's a person that I always send this text to from that's done every presidency since 72. He's predicted every president, and he said it's going to be a blue tsunami for Kamala this time. So he's a professor at a college too. So I'm excited. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I send that thing around.
I thought you were going to tell me it's like an elder at Ho-Chunk, kind of like a like a little Yoda.
Yeah.
How common that would be.
Well, to be little,
that would yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to be a different tribe than Ho-Chunk because we're big and mighty. Anyways,
you mean too tall to be a Yoda is what you mean, right? Okay.
Yes.
I was talking more like the wisdom is what I'm talking, not the size necessarily. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait till tomorrow. I can't wait until the polls close and the numbers start rolling in. It's just looking good, and I feel really good about this. And people a little afraid about what's going to happen afterwards, after this blue tsunami. And I think that's one of the things that we'll be talking about afterwards, Dr. Stately.
I mean, I think it's like quite a bit of it is unpredictable, but I mean, it shouldn't be unpredictable. He's been really clear about what he's going to do. He's stated it. He's been talking about it for a while. And, it's like my grandma used to say, or my mom used to say, like, if it's a duck, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So, like, he's been saying the same thing, and he's been doing, behaving the same way for quite a while. We should probably expect that he's going to challenge it. He's going to use legal means. He's going to try all these things to challenge. So that's just what he does, because he's a sore loser in and every time. Like, he's been a sore loser in his marriages. So it's like, that's the nature of this man. He's a narcissist, and narcissists do not like to hear the word no. They don't like to hear, they don't like to have boundaries set. They don't like to have any of these things, limit them, right? So on and so forth. Right. So we should not be surprised at all if, like, should there be a blue tsunami, that he will be, just exactly the person he was last time. Maybe even worse, because he's older and he's even more senile than he was before, and and he's got nothing to lose. He certainly doesn't have any pride to lose. He's already lost that quite a while ago. So.
Well, it almost seems like he's trying to lose all the stuff he's saying, and a lot of it, he's got there's something happening in court on November 22nd, and he's going to be sentenced for his last thing. So we'll see if he's running for president to stay out of jail. I'm sure that's a way, because what he's been doing and saying this last month is, I don't know, it's just ringing the bell for all the racists, or he's just going through the motions. I have no clue.
I think there's a lot of people that are in that situation, even folks that I know who are, relatives who I think might be voting for Trump. They have at least 2 of them have told me that, like, well, I don't know. He said some really strange things over the last couple of months. And I was like, exactly. You're just not recognizing that. He's been saying strange things for about 12 years, maybe longer.
That one station that was sued $700 million, almost $800 million, Fox Entertainment, never brings up these things he says. You know, they show him, you know, driving a mail truck or working at McDonald's or something. They don't show the real thing that he says in these 4-hour tirades that go on, and people leaving and
Anybody who is smart and pays attention knows that like him going working at McDonald's is so that he can get all the free hamburgers he wants, because that's what he eats.
Yeah, they were closed when he was there.
Yeah, it's like, who are you actually serving hamburgers to? Oh, yourself, because that's how you love them so much. It's like crazy.
Right.
So
Well, this nightmare will soon be over, I hope.
Me too. I'm so excited. I'm really a little disappointed because I'd be like, I work tomorrow night until like about, I think maybe 8:30 or so. I'm at the American Birthing Association, American Association of Birthing Centers. I'm at their conference tomorrow evening, all day Wednesday, and part of Thursday. And that's because NAC is working with a group of other Native organizations in Minneapolis to plan a birthing center, first Indigenous birthing center in the United States. So we're going to go to that conference to learn a little bit about, like, you know, how do you start a birthing center and what does it involve? So just to kind of get a better sense of like what we're up against. But, you know, in this role, NAC is a supporting organization. We're not a lead organization in the sense that we don't intend to operate the birthing center, but like I do think it's really fundamentally important that Indigenous women in the state of Minnesota and all around the country have the opportunity to get access to their traditional birthing methods as a alternative to some of the challenges that we have in you know, the typical Western medical practices. Maternal and child health issues across the United States for Native women is significantly among the worst conditions. So I think Native women and our families are entitled to the same choices that other people would get in any other kind of conditions, right? So
yeah,
yes,
wow,
we're partnering with MIWC, Division of Indian Works, and Minobi's Mi'maj Zawin Clinic on that.
That's huge. Well, any parting words you'd like to give to our people listening out there now that I've talked to the Gen Z in their own language?
The Gen Z, yeah. Kamala is Riz.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
And Trump is Sess, brah, and get out there and vote, brah. Yeah, do your civic duty. It's you know, the lines will be long. It'll be like, but you know, bring yourself a bottle of water, because no one's going to be able to give you one, especially if you live in one of those states where they outlawed it. And then also, you know, bring some peanuts or something like that to chew on, and just, you know, stand in line, do your civic duty. You won't regret it. And, you know, let's protect sovereignty, protect women, protect children, you know, protect health centers, which I operate. You know, I want to close those down. So, yeah.
Right on, Dr. Stately. Thank you so much for being on. As always, have a great night. And
you too.
Vote. I'm glad you voted, and I see that little sticker, so I know you did. Yeah. Two of them.
Two. I didn't vote twice. I just got 2 stickers.
We'll be right back, where we're going to be with Darek from Make Voting a Tradition. This is Native Roots Radio.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Voting rights matter, and it's important to know where you stand. In Minnesota, if you're not currently in prison, you can vote, even with a felony conviction. For nearly 10 years, Make Voting a Tradition, or MVAT, has empowered Native American communities by increasing voter turnout and encouraging conversations about the issues that matter. Together, they're making sure every voice is heard and counted. Find your early voting location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a lasting tradition for generations.
This November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship agreements to manage federal lands, we return the lands of the Upper Sioux State Park to the Upper Sioux tribe and over 11,000 acres back to the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwa. This November, vote for the party that stands with our community. Vote Democrat.
Paid for by the Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
For everything you need to know about voting in Minnesota, visit the Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org. Find out where to vote, check registration status, and view sample ballots. Again, for all your voting information, go to mnvotes.org.
Hi, this is Governor Walz. Thank you for listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh, I could hear Wendy in the background. Good howl there, Wendy. Hey, we have Darek DeLille, and make voting a tradition. We're going to be busy. I am definitely going to drive down there at the coffee shop and help as much as I can. I have my phone number to tribal members in St. Paul and Minneapolis to help make voting tradition any way I can. Darek, welcome, and thank you so much. You are the busiest person out there. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Bonjour, Jawanung Benesi and the go, Mushkazibing and Dunjabai, Dash, Kakabekong and Danungom, Mein Gun and Do Dam. So I would be remiss if I didn't do this. Ow! That goes out to all my Wolf Clan people. So yeah, I'm very. It's been a busy time, but it's been fun and it's been a lot of learning. We've definitely spread our wings out into the state. So getting out to the tribal spaces has been a focus for this program since its inception. And so now that we got a little bit more capacity, we've been able to do that. I've really seen a huge energy around our people. I really want to say from my observations, this, as crazy as this election has been, I think it's helped a program like ours. I really do. Our people are coming out. They're excited. I'm seeing the youth out. I'm seeing the elders out. We've been out to Red Lake and Leech Lake, Cass Lake, Mille Lacs and Fond du Lac, Bemidji, Duluth. There is a really big and beautiful energy out there around our people in voting. It's really good to see that.
Yeah, we had Robert Lilligren on and last Thursday, and he was so excited because he remembers 10, 20 years ago when he'd knock on doors and our community was not into it just because the way the government has treated us over these years. But we've talked about it, and organizations like Make Voting a Tradition and people like you have talked to our people about it and how important it is to be at the table.
Yeah, I think it's ultra important to be at those tables from the beginning. Since first contact, we've always wanted to be at the tables. Natives had our own leadership at that time. And when you think about that, to be shut down and unheard, that is something that goes DNA deep with Native people. So at any time we can be heard and we can sit down at those tables and be treated as human, as intelligent, that is important to us. Then we feel a little bit more empowered. And I really want to have people get out there and vote, but not only vote, be smart about it. Vote for those ones that are going to help our people and our arts and our culture, those ones that are going to fund our programs, our missing and murdered Indigenous programs. Every program out here needs funding. We need that. We need to be smart about our decisions right now and make sure our voices are heard when we vote.
Yeah, you can't complain about things if you don't vote. And I know we've been saying that, and my father said that to me 60 years ago, 50 years ago. And I agree. But it's exciting. Like you said, the tide is changed, and there's there's reasons to. There's people, young influencers, and make voting a tradition out there saying how important it is. And we know our relatives in Wisconsin, in each precinct, that's 3 votes that they had to get that 10,000 in 2020 to shift the whole election in that state.
Yeah. And those are the powerful things that we need to realize in Minnesota and beyond, all across Turtle Island. We can be a deciding factor in these races if we get out in numbers. We have to all get out there and all be talking amongst ourselves at our tables and make this important, make it a tradition. When you think about I always want to be positive minded in the thinking, because as a Native person, I think a lot of us, we could talk about negatives until I pass away. I could really do that. But I'd rather think about the positives. I'd rather think about the people that we have in the school boards now, our Native representatives, the legislation that's been passed, many bills catering to our needs in our communities. We shut down the depot. That's what kind of power we have. In the south side, the roof depot, those doors are closed now.
Yeah.
That is a power. And if we are putting people into offices that are Native first, if we can, but if we can't get those people, we want to have our strong allies. When you talk about some of the things that have happened in the state in these past years, you see a lot of Native liaisons these days. Why is that? That's a good question. Why? Who did that work to make that happen?
Yeah.
I want our people to look those questions up and figure out what is the strong choice to make. Who's going to be an ally to us at the end of the day, and vote for them.
Yeah. Hey, we got something going on at Native American Community Development Institute tomorrow from 10 to 8. And I know there's a big billboard there now too. Talk a little bit about that, Darek.
Yep, we have our billboard out there that's going to be featuring our 6 artists that offered up art for us. You can see some in the background here. This is one of the strong suits of our program, is to be able to work with artists because of our arts department, our arts program, All My Relations Arts. We work in tandem and in partnership with them. And this is how we integrate our work, is to be able to work with some of our finer artists. Not only that, but hold that relationship and keep that relationship and work with them again. These are important things for us when our kids can see, wow, that is our art that is portrayed. That's seeing that as a viable solution to life. This is something I could do with my life. It's something positive. It's something empowering. And when we see those things, it's almost like the land. Now, when you talk about the land, this all goes into voting. If we take you guys over to Wounded Knee, and I bring you over and I drive you over, we get out of the car and we step on that land, you tell me if you feel something or not. And that's important. And our art does the same thing. It empowers us. It gives us even more pride and dignity within our work to be able to say, yeah, that's us, and we are doing something. And those are the positive things that I want to talk about that surround this type of work. It's good work. It's a good aspect of life for a Native person to be involved civically.
Absolutely. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., there's a huge billboard at Native American Community Development Institute parking lot, and we'll be coming there and helping people go to the polls, correct?
Yes, we will be helping out in any way we can. We got a lot of people that are showing up. Just our community members are already calling in. They're calling both myself and my coworker Jolene, our coordinator in Minnesota. They're calling in. They just want to ask, what can they do? How can they help? And everyone's going to be able to do some really, really good work tomorrow.
Well, I will see you over there, and I appreciate you coming on. And I know you got to be tired, but we sleep when we're dead when we have the work that you do, and we all try and do. So, Darek, thank you so much for being on.
Oh, yeah, it's always a pleasure. I love to come join the show. You guys invite me graciously, and I try to make it each time.
Right on, Peeny Gigi. Hey, if you're listening to the show, are you part of the resistance? We're still here. Vote, 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 vote. We are the seventh generation.
And free Leonard Peltier now.
This November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship